Greetings and welcome. You're tuned into TMH's Daily English News. Our headlines for today: the Tigray government demands an investigation framework that treats Tigray as an essential stakeholder. International community criticized for failure to respond to Tigray genocide, which is taking the form of forced starvation. And the Ethiopian Catholic Church says facing great challenges due to the lack of peace in the country. As we move on to our main updates, the government of Tigray says any attempt to set up a framework for the investigation that treats Tigray as a marginal stakeholder is a step in the wrong direction. In a statement it issued on a recent visit of the International Commissions of Human Rights experts on Ethiopia to Addis Ababa, the government of Tigray called the commission's approach unacceptable. The statement said there are signs that the integrity of the commission's work is in grave danger of being compromised, and the statement also noted that the imperativeness of timely and adequate transmission of information to the relevant stakeholders are being vital for the maintaining investigative integrity and the understandable need for some degree of secrecy in the investigating war crimes and crimes against humanity. But it did underline that the maintaining a veil of secrecy only when it comes to the victims, while treating the victimizers as an indispensable interlocutor, risks undermining the Commission's impartiality and the credibility of the investigative process associated findings. Following the conclusion of its visit to Addis Ababa from the 25th of July to the 30th of July 2022, the Commission issued a statement on the 2nd of August 2022 indicating that its discussion with Ethiopian authorities was an extension of prior discussions it had with them in Geneva. And according to the statement again of the government of Tigray, keeping open channels of communication with the party, the Abiy Ahmed regime implicated in the perpetration of heinous atrocities while turning a deaf ear to the interests of the victims. The people of Tigray can only guarantee the enrichment of impunity. The statement reasoned that by intentionally eschewing meaningful communications with the government of Tigray, the Commission is on the verge of sacrificing its impartiality. It also stressed that any attempt to set up a framework for the investigation that treats Tigray as a marginal stakeholder is a step in the wrong direction, therefore extremely unacceptable. And the government of Tigray called for a course of correction on the part of the Commission, maintaining the perception and reality of its impartiality, ensuring justice for the countless victims of the invaders and genocidal campaign requires a thorough, credible, and expeditious investigation. The Commission should not allow the Abiy Ahmed regime to hijack its works as it seeks to whitewash its atrocities, engage in victim blaming, and present itself as a dispenser of justice and accountability. The Commission in a statement also said it hopes for access to crime locations rather than demand it being granted access, and the government of Tigray also called this behavior of the Commission quote-unquote deeply troubling. The statement noted that since the Ethiopian state is implicated in the preparation of heinous atrocities against the people of Tigray, the Commission must refrain from establishing any contacts with Abiy Ahmed's regime in ways that might be prejudicial as well as to the Commission's work. The Commission should also simply demand unrestricted access to various suspected sites of these atrocities and be allowed to fulfill its mission without any interference regarding the deadly blockade on Tigray that has engineered a colossal humanitarian crisis. And the statement even noted that Human Rights Council has recognized the importance of proactively preventing rights violations. The deafening silence of the Commission in the face of inhumane siege of Tigray is problematic. Thus, the Commission must call for the immediate lifting of blockade on Tigray, call for unfettered humanitarian access, thereby preserving all of the rights to the life of the people in Tigray as the government of Tigray demanded. The Commission has provided a deadline for citizens to provide evidence of crimes via the internet. The government of Tigray dubbed this most puzzling, saying the Commission appears to be oblivious of the fact that there's a total communication blackout in the Tigray region, indicating a lack of appreciation for the magnitude of the suffering that people are suffering in Tigray currently. It added that Abiy Ahmed's regime understandably believes granting independent investigators and journalists access to Tigray would puncture its self-glorifying, self-absorbing, and victim-blaming narratives. The deliberate obstruction of a duly constituted international investigative body by Abiy Ahmed's regime should be treated as an admission of guilt, the government of Tigray stressed in their statement. Bending over backwards to accommodate a regime accused of ongoing violations of human rights, in effect, is complicity in the perpetuation of injustice. The government of Tigray reiterated their commitment to cooperating with the Commission, but absent necessary course corrections by the Commission and tangible steps to reassure us of its impartiality and its independence in the cooperation for the sake of cooperation would simply be unjustifiable, an expenditure of time and resources as well. Researchers say that the international community has failed to recognize and respond adequately to the genocide in Tigray, which has taken the form of forced starvation. In an article published by Tigray titled "My Advocacy is About Tigray," Duke Burbridge, one of the foremost campaigners against Tigray genocide, wrote that intentionally blocking the delivery of food and medicine to civilians in famine-like conditions is a textbook example of the third act of a genocide recognized by the Rome Statute. The international provision of criminalizing deliberately inflicting on a group's conditions of life calculated to bring about its physical destruction in whole or in part. He said the Tigray genocide represents the greatest level of violence he has ever seen unleashed on millions of innocent civilians and has been met with the weakest international response. The researcher says if international pressure cannot force Ethiopia to allow food, fuel, and medicine into a famine-stricken region, then the bar for genocide has been made dangerously low. As an American, I am responsible for the willingness of Ethiopian government to starve the slaughter their citizens, but I bear some responsibility of my own as government's failure to prioritize the lives and the civilians in track one diplomacy, as he stated. He also vowed to continue to advocate for the lives, the human rights, and personal freedoms of Tigrayans until civilian security is restored back into the Tigray region. And although I might also stick around for reconstruction because I have a feeling that Tigray's comeback will be colossal, he said, the writer did advocate for Tigrayans not because he got paid as some supporters of Abiy Ahmed's regime accuse him of, but because it is the first time that he's ever observed a government commit such severe violence against the civilian population with almost complete international impunity. Duke Burbridge, who was a senior researcher associate at the International Center for Religion and Diplomacy for 15 years, where he provided research support for community-based peace-building programs in conflict-affected countries such as Pakistan, Yemen, and Colombia alike. Our final update for today, the Ethiopian Catholic Church admits it is facing a great challenge due to the lack of peace within the country. This was disclosed at the 53rd Plenary Assembly of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ethiopia, which was held in July of the 20th up until the 22nd of this year in Addis Ababa. And the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Ethiopia, in a message it issued on its conclusion statement, the Church is facing a great challenge due to the lack of peace within the country, which is hindering her from carrying out the apostolic services effectively. It added that many of our parishes include Adigrat Diocese, shares the challenge, saying priests and sisters have fled their places due to the security and the number of closed chapels and convents as they increase. The message also noted participants of the conference strongly requested that the government and the people work together to ensure peace in the country so that the citizens can finally live freely. They said people in the country are struggling to meet their basic needs and that citizens are still being killed and exiled because of their identity in many, many places. Even the Ethiopian Catholic Church and its cardinal have been confronted by members of the church about their complicity in this ongoing current Tigrayan genocide. That wraps up our news for today. We'll be back for more tomorrow with TMH's Daily English News. Have a great night.